they're learning, but they're having fun doing it. I love hearing the laughter when they're creating different video effects or sound effects in the film. And then at the end of the experience, which is about 90 minutes on average, they do get to see a rough cut of what they've put together. So our team kind of cleans up this clip. We call it the daily. So they get to see their daily, what they've put together. And there's always a ton of laughter there.
Well, hello, everyone that's following Peak Group Travel on all of our socials. It's an exciting day for us here because we are talking with Michelle Mignani. She works at Universal Studios Orlando, and I'm going to let her give you all of her details about who she is and what she does for Universal, one of our favorite partners for all of our tours for performance and all of our academic tours that we do for students. So, welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Beth. So, as Beth mentioned, I am Michelle Mignani. I am one of the manager of sales on behalf of our group sales and youth programs team here at Universal Orlando. And we are focused on selling to student and youth groups, really anywhere from preschool all the way up through college. So, any organized youth group of 10 or more students, sports teams, cheer teams, anything in between, we look forward to welcoming them here in Orlando and offering discounted admission tickets for them to enjoy the parks, along with opportunities to perform, to learn, and to celebrate. So that's like what we like to focus on at Universal.
That's amazing. How did you get into that?
So I've actually been with Universal now a little over 17 years, always in sales,
Mhm.
but I've had a passion for theme parks and came to Orlando to go to college and found myself naturally leaning into a career in theme parks after graduation. And Universal really has been home for me. I love having the opportunity to sell fun, to see people experiencing our rides, our shows, our attractions every day. I love walking outside of my office and hearing people scream with excitement on the Velocicoaster roller coaster. Really helps put into perspective what we do. And it's just really a great place to work and to pursue my passion of theme parks and see students get to have an amazing experience enjoying themselves.
That's kind of like what I talk about when I talk about my job. And you and I have different, very different jobs. But at the same time, I love the idea that what we do from our different angles is benefiting students. It's something very cool for them to do, something fun for them to do. You get to do it in Orlando. I do it from my home office, as you can tell. But going out into the world and giving students this positive experiences is pretty terrific and very rewarding. And it's really cool. I'm so glad you got to join us today to talk about what you do and what role Universal can play in helping a group of any type have a positive and fun and exciting experience. So, what kind of programming does Universal offer to youth specific to maybe programs or workshops?
Sure. I think it's a great opportunity for us as well because a lot of people don't know that we have these programs available to student groups at Universal, even employees here at the park. I love running into people and explaining what I do because it is a really unique experience. So we break our programming down into two main categories: our Universal Stars performance program and then our Universal Studies education programs. And our content for both is really designed for middle to high school, and that aligns with the core of our attractions here at Universal. So we want to be the destination for those age groups to really enjoy not just the content in the park, but our programs. So I'll start with our STARS performance program. And really, that is something that is applicable for bands, choirs, orchestras, dance teams, show choirs, anybody that is looking for a unique performance or workshop opportunity is really eligible to perform with us. That being said, I think our most fun experience is going to definitely be the sound design, music, and the art of Foley workshop. That is so unique. We only offer that here in Orlando. And it's an opportunity for students to really come in and see what it's like to be a working movie musician for the day. I think with that, they get to see what other opportunities there are in the professional and career side of things after they graduate, not just focused on playing an instrument or singing. They're going to come into an actual working soundstage. They're going to have been given music ahead of time, so they get to choose, and their director typically will choose one of the fun film clips, such as Despicable Me, The Lorax, Secret Life of Pets, Trolls. So ideally, they're going to have time in the classroom ahead of time to rehearse this and feel comfortable with the music. So when they get onto property and they get into our soundstage, they'll have a comfort level with that piece. The director is actually involved in this experience as well, which I think is really unique and fun
Mm.
because everyone's having a great time at Universal on the attractions, but they can actually have fun together in this workshop experience. So the recording piece of the soundtrack is actually only really the first half of the workshop. So the director will be conducting this piece for the students.
Okay.
They'll be working alongside our producer, who's part of our entertainment team. And we've got a full audio team and a technician video team that's going to be behind the scenes, but running the logistics of this workshop as well. So the recording piece goes first. They'll lay down, ideally in 2 takes, they'll get that piece how they want it to sound, and then the director will actually take a seat, sit back, and watch the students really engage with our producer and go into all of the sound effects. Students will get to audition to play parts in the film, so they're truly creating this animated film clip from start to finish. They're going to be working together as a team, as a class, to create these sound effects. For example, we do in our Despicable Me piece, we have cookie robots, and students will get up next to a microphone with a ballpoint pen, and they'll click the ballpoint pen to make the sound of the cookie robots. So, different things that you wouldn't think actually create sound in these motion pictures. And I think, Beth, you've had some of your groups do this and really enjoy that experience.
It it's spectacular to watch these kids. I've had the privilege of sitting in on a couple of them at this point, several of them, I guess, and having watching the kids change. It's fun to watch them, like, they come in and they're a little nervous because 'cause they've never seen an actual sound stage, working soundstage. So, you know, I don't know that they even knew what one could possibly look like, but they come in, they sit down, they perform the piece that they've been practicing for however many months, and then they get to do, like you said, Michelle, like, all the auditioning parts, and they get giggly and excited and having fun, and watching them also see that there are other careers besides just playing an instrument, between the audio tech, the visual tech, the producer, getting all the sound levels right, making sure all of that is correct for their recording. It's another opportunity for the students to see what could go beyond the classroom for them. And I think it's one of the great benefits of going to Universal is having that experience beyond just playing, and it's super cool to watch. I love watching that. I talk about it a lot to a lot of my clients and a lot of, a lot of the people that follow us on socials that, this is another opportunity you can have in Orlando beyond just riding a roller coaster. There are so many more things you can do, especially at Universal.
And I think too, like you mentioned, the students and their director have fun in this program.
Mm.
They're learning, but they're having fun doing it. I love hearing the laughter when they're creating different video effects or sound effects in the film. And then at the end of the experience, which is about 90 minutes on average, they do get to see a rough cut of what they've put together. So our team kind of cleans up this clip. We call it the daily. So they get to see their daily, what they've put together. And there's always a ton of laughter there. And the one of the benefits too of where these are facilitated, they're in our sound stages, as I mentioned, which is right in the heart of our property. So our sound stages sit right in between Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. So as soon as the workshop is finished, those students put their instruments right back on the bus and they are in those parks within just a few minutes. They don't have to get on another mode of transportation to get into the theme park. So we really enjoy talking about that as well because the workshop is an important piece of their trip, but it doesn't take a ton of time to get out of the workshop and get back into the fun of the theme parks. So that's something important to mention as well.
It definitely is, and it's a huge asset and appealing part of the process for the directors, but of course the kids, because you know let's be real. They want to get back in the park as fast as they can because they're kids, and that's what their parents knew they were going to Universal on this trip, so they want to go. But it's really cool that they can just, slip right back into the park, get their ticket scan, and back to the fun. Do they only have the workshops during the morning, Michelle, or is it throughout the day?
So we facilitate them in the morning. We'll have a morning session that's usually around 8 a.m., between 8 and 9.
Mhm.
And then we do have a couple other sessions that go throughout the day. So our last workshop of the day typically does conclude later afternoon. So I know everybody likes to come in first thing in the morning and get that workshop
Sure.
completed, but we do have a couple other times throughout the day to accommodate the demand that we have. That is our most popular program. We started that, gosh, probably about 15 years ago, and it has grown leaps and bounds with schools wanting to do this multiple times and choose a different sound movie clip. So that's
Oh,
been
very
fun to
cool.
see the
Mhm.
growth of it. And the final piece of that I want to mention, because this is the cool part, as you mentioned, that the parents and families, the piece actually gets cleaned up. This video clip gets edited, gets really put into a full-blown motion picture, and we send that out about 4 to 6 weeks after the group has come for their experience. They'll get a downloadable link to view this experience, so that can be shared with parents, administrators, really everybody that helped make that trip possible has a copy
Mm.
of that to see the experience that the kids put together. And all of the students' names will roll in the credits just like they would in a motion picture.
How cool
So
is
it's really
that?
fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's really good too. I think for our directors, for their communities, when they come back with something tangible like that the administrators can see, the community can see, the parents can see that this was one of the final products from this trip that we saved so much for and built up for so long. This is a great takeaway, and I think for our directors that are watching, that it's important to use that as a way of getting for future approvals for future trips. It's a great tool for your toolkit if you're looking to say, "Hey, we'd like to go back to Universal in a couple of years. Here's the product. Here's what our students get to experience and participate and contribute to." It's a great sales tool for the director. It's not even for me, for the director though, to get kids excited about it.
And from a logistical perspective, we ask for a minimum of 40 participants. And we offer, again, this for band, choir, and orchestra. We can also do what we call a shared experience, where maybe your band, choir, and orchestra all come together.
Oh,
The
great.
choir would record separately from the band and orchestra. They would record their piece, but they would all come together for the sound effects to do the Foley effects together. But that experience, if we do a combined opportunity, that would be roughly a little longer, maybe 2 hours
Okay.
versus a 90-minute experience, but still a great use of time. And we can go up to our maximums are a little dependent on what sound stages we have available.
Mhm.
So let us work with you if you have a large group to see how we can best facilitate that. But ideally, we can accommodate large groups as well for this type of experience. And all the kids have so much fun doing it together.
That's fantastic. And I think that's something too that a lot of our groups would like to know is that it's accessible. That your group size, while you do have to have minimums, there are different ways of achieving those minimums. And then also how can Universal is very eager to make sure that the students have a positive experience. And it sounds like you're willing to talk. So, directors out
Yes.
there, make sure that if you're working with a tour operator, such speak, or if contact directly, that don't be afraid to ask the question of what your size is and see what's available. Don't just take the number as gospel. We can figure out maybe if there's something we can do for you, split the group up or combine two different ensembles to hit that minimum, maybe to make sure that you get a positive experience, which we're all looking for. And it's something memorable. And it's one of those core memories that the kids take with them forever, which is really cool too. So, how long do you think you know, you talked about getting music ahead of time. Have you seen an ideal for student groups in terms of how long they should prepare for their trip?
So let's go actually back to the beginning of the process. So we start taking applications because any of our performance programs or any of our education programs, we do require an application. And that's basically going to start the process to get your group confirmed and reserved for a specific date. and for a specific experience with us.
Mhm.
So we start taking applications a year in advance. And I highly recommend, if your group is coming over peak spring break time, March and April, you definitely want to get your application in, especially for sound design, a year in advance so we can work to secure your space. As I mentioned, those are our most popular programs, and we do tend to fill up for those peak days very quickly. So once that application is submitted to us and confirmed for a date, you're going to get the sheet music with that confirmation email. So as soon as you're ready to start practicing that, you're able to do so. If you find that the sheet music, we have different grade levels. If that sheet music is too easy or too difficult, reach out to us and we'll be happy to send you a different piece to make sure you're comfortable playing that piece.
Well, that's fantastic. So having that year to prepare, essentially, or at least
Yes.
11 months per se, maybe depending on when they apply, gives you really maximum time to get your group ready for your performance and your experience. And that's not something that you get with a lot of different experiences at different festivals where there's a lot of sight reading or, on the spot kind of preparation. So I think that's a really great asset. And it's something that definitely our directors would benefit from doing. And it's also something that maybe even they can incorporate into, their programming, their rehearsals for the full year. And then they come in locked and loaded and ready to go, which is amazing. I think that's really neat. Now, obviously, when the group gets there, so do they have to buy a park ticket, I'm guessing, as part of the I mean, I know they do, but, how many park tickets, and is there a minimum? Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, the whole experience revolves around Universal Orlando. So we do ask for a minimum, like I said, of 40 participants. That would also be the equivalent number of paid theme park tickets that we would ask for.
Mhm.
And we do ask for a minimum of a 2-day park to park ticket. So at a minimum, we're asking for your group to come and enjoy both Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, but we also have several different ticket types and opportunities to go up from there. We definitely want people to be able to come and experience our newest theme park, that is Epic Universe, which just opened, gosh, almost just a year ago
Hard to believe.
today. And that experience is incredible. So we don't want to leave Epic Universe out, but we do know that there are some groups that may have more price sensitivity and budget may not allow for the full experience inclusive of Epic. So for any of our performance programs, we're just going to ask for the minimum of that 2-day with Universal and Islands of Adventure. And we do ask for, again, a 40 minimum number of students for the workshop and a 40 minimum number of paid tickets for that program. So hopefully we can get at least 40 students to come out and enjoy that. But if you have some parents or chaperones, they're welcome to join in. They're welcome to view the experience as well. They have a lot of fun observing that workshop
They do,
experience. So we do encourage and enjoy those tag-alongs to come and be part of the fun too.
which is great, and I think those chaperones, it's kind of an added bonus. They work pretty hard when they're on those trips, keeping track of all those students in various locations and giving them an experience like that. A lot of those parents have never been in music or never been part of that, so they get even more behind the scenes look at what rehearsals like or what that experience is for their students. I think it allows them to embrace their students more too if they're thinking about a career that's non-traditional in terms of an office job and they can do sound engineering work, that it's an incredibly viable career option for them. But the parents love it. They get giggly and silly while they're watching the movie clip and hearing the sound effects being made. It's really a lot of fun. It's great too that they get to experience both parks, Universal and Islands of Adventure in that experience as well. And if I'm talking to all of our listeners and social media fans out there, Epic is epic. It lives up to its name. And I would encourage you to see if you can include that as part of your trip as well, because it's just that cool. Now, Michelle, you were saying though that the workshops are really tied into more of the Universal Studios Islands of Adventure, mostly because of geography. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And that's the case as we move forward. We do have hopes of having some programming down the line at Epic Universe, but for right now, all of our performance programming as well as all of our education programming does take place at Universal Studios or Islands of Adventure within that footprint, while Epic Universe is just a few miles down the street. We don't have any youth dedicated programming yet. We're excited to have that down the line, but for right now, everything is taking place within our current footprint here with Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios and City Walk.
Sure.
So I know we touched a lot on the workshop, but I did want to also mention that we have marching opportunities, and those do take place all within Universal Studios Florida.
Okay.
And our marching opportunities are really, I mean, we have that year round, which we would call our morning march. And that's usually a great kickoff to the day. That is an opportunity for students to march, not necessarily in a parade or in conjunction with a parade, but they are the morning entertainment, really the kickoff for the day. So that marching experience is roughly 3/4 of a mile. And dependent on how fast they're marching, it's usually somewhere around 20 minutes or so of a performance experience there. And we also have stage performance opportunities, which take place primarily in City Walk at our City Walk Lagoon stage. And those performance opportunities are about 30 minutes that the group can be on stage performing. Again, band, choir, orchestra, show choir, dance. They want to do some kind of a musical theater number, that's welcome too. But we do offer our stage performances mostly year round as well.
Well, and that lagoon stage is great because of that whole amphitheater style seating in front of it. So anybody that's passing by, it doesn't even just have to stand to watch. They can actually sit. They can actually, grab a bite on City Walk and sit and listen to whoever's performing. And I've seen a lot of groups pleasantly surprised at how big of an audience they get because people, I think, inherently stop when they hear kids singing or performing. And that's, Universal is no exception to that at City Walk, having that experience. And of course, Florida weather does help because it's usually fairly nice for a long part of the year.
Yes. Yes. And we do have an MC that will announce the group. They'll talk about where they're from, get the crowd excited. And again, City Walk is the gateway into both Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. So everybody that is coming from our resort destinations that are via the water taxi is going right by that stage. All of our guests coming from the parking structure, coming into those destinations, do see what's happening on that City Walk Lagoon stage. So it is an ideal location to get people excited about what's happening down there, who's performing. So you will get a lot of passersby that just do stop and watch the performance.
Love it. It's so great. I'm very, very passionate about youth travel, and Universal knocks it out of the park every time for our, no pun intended, for all of our groups as they come through Orlando. It's a fantastic experience. Now, of course, these are high school students, typically some middle school, but
Mhm.
everybody wants to eat at some point. So, what kind of dining options do we have for students? If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure, I think that's important. And I will say that we are improving our restaurant quality experiences here. And I know you've had the opportunity yourself to go try some of the food at Epic Universe, but
Mm.
I think that's the one thing that we are continuously improving upon outside of our rides and attractions. We are focusing on the dining destination that we are as a theme park. So, from a youth perspective, we offer two options in conjunction with theme park tickets. We offer a youth food and beverage card, which is essentially like a gift card. It acts as such a gift card, although it can only be used for true food and beverage purchases. It cannot be used at the candy stores, cannot be used to buy a wand in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, but it comes in $5 increments. So you can choose $5, you could choose $500 on that food and beverage card. And those can be used at any restaurant, any quick service restaurant, any food and beverage cart. So if someone wants a turkey leg and a lemonade, they're welcome to use their food and beverage card there. It can be used in all of our theme parks, in City Walk, as well as our resort hotels. So it is very
Mm.
flexible and very multi use. The other option that we offer is a traditional gift card. And we do see a lot of student groups leaning into the gift card option as well. It works in the same way as the food and beverage card, but you can use that at the food and beverage as well as the merchandise locations throughout the park. So they can go get their Florian Fortescue's butterbeer ice cream, and then they can go get some of the fudge at the candy shop, and then go buy their wand with this, as well as buying a meal that's hopefully going to fill them for lunch for the day.
We hope. And directors out
Mhm.
there that are listening to us, I'm sure they all know that that's not always the case. And of course, we can't, you can't force feed kids a lot, but sometimes if you want to try to focus them, you can get that food and beverage card. But if you're just like, you know what, it's not a fight I'm willing to have, here's your gift card and have fun and go at it. So but it is I think that the flexibility of being able to use it at the resorts is good too, because a lot of our groups want to stay on property as kind of a complete experience. So they can stay at a
Yes.
Universal resort and they can go to the parks and they can perform on stage at the Lagoon stage at City Walk, and then they can do a workshop. It's really self-contained. You could make it an entirely universal experience and have so many resources and benefits at your fingertips as you do it, which is completely remarkable. So we've talked about performances, we talked about some of the workshops. What Are there any kind of like festivals that you're affiliated with that you could participate in, or is that something that you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't run any of our own music festivals, but we do rely on some really great partners to do that on our property. So we do have a few that we work with. Music
Great.
USA, they run their festival on site. World Strides, they run a festival on site with us. And then we do have two additional music festivals, Orlando Fest, as well as Music in the Parks, that facilitate their festival offsite, but do perform their award ceremonies for those festivals on site with us.
On campus.
So, yes, we do have the opportunity for a multitude of music festivals that we work with, and whatever you're looking for, I'm sure we have a partner that can accommodate those festival needs.
And that's great for anybody, because we do have directors that look for competitive events. The performances and the workshops we talked about first are non-competitive. It's just an experience for your students, which is great. And if you need something else like that, and Peak, as Peak, we can participate in those festivals with you. Like we can get you signed up, we can buy into those so that you can compete or be part of those experiences and still be part of Universal and do a workshop as well. We can do the full service for you too. So that's something we can offer and help you participate in. It's There's never a dull moment, I guess is what I'm trying to say. When you go to Universal, there's always something to do. There's an activity. Do you have any other type of youth programs that you work with, Michelle? You kind of touched on a couple other like cheer and sports. Are there, not that cheer is not a sport, because it is, and I'm sure every cheer person would tell me the same thing. But we've got
Mhm.
cheer, we've got sports. I think you mentioned something about scouts. Like scouts probably come to your park as well. But what about
Yeah,
like any type of STEM programs? Because now we have a lot of students that
sure.
we have found that there's a strong connection between arts and STEM and engineering and math. And we've got a lot of teachers that are looking at that. Do you have any STEM programs?
Yes, and I'm glad you actually mentioned that in conjunction with the arts, because we took that and transitioned to STEAM. So we incorporate the arts into our STEM programming by calling them STEAM programs. So we have dedicated app-based programs for STEAM. It's called your Classroom in Motion, a STEAM app series. So while these programs run independently of one another, they are all focused around those STEAM components. And I think a couple of these programs that really are most exciting and most engaging, because they do tend to go into that science, technology, and math component. Our Transformers rollout program is phenomenal. So that program is, again, app based. So when the students come into our classroom located on property, they'll be working with one of our dedicated youth educators to learn the concepts between how does this ride vehicle, the Transformers ride vehicle, how is that programmed and designed from our engineering team to move in certain directions. So heave, sway, yaw, roll. Those are engineering terms of when they design this attraction to move these ride vehicles in a certain pattern in conjunction with what you're seeing on the screen, as to not make people get crazy motion sick. So the students actually get to learn the science behind this attraction, and they'll do this app-based program in small teams in our classroom, And then after they've concluded the program, they actually get to go out and we give them an express pass to ride that attraction and have a less wait in line, but they'll get to ride that attraction and physically see what they've done on this education program. Another one of our CMAP programs is called Control Panel, and that is based around the Skull Island at Reign of Kong attraction. That's inside Islands of Adventure. And essentially, in that program, the students are using their iPads. Again, we facilitate that. We bring all these iPads to this classroom for them. They'll work in small teams, and they're going to be designing the ride vehicle to move at certain coordinates. So it's more of a geometry and math based program where they'll be programming the ride vehicle so it doesn't crash into the walls of the attraction. So, again, a little bit of science, a little bit of math behind what does it take to actually do this in real life and create these types of attractions. And again, they'll get to ride that attraction with an express pass after they've concluded the program. So, as far as classroom based programs, these are roughly an hour to 90 minutes, but they are facilitated throughout the day. We have those starting at different time periods of the day. Those are facilitated in a non-traditional classroom within our theme parks in a classroom style setting. So there is a little bit more of a curriculum tie-in. There's a little bit of a heavier emphasis on the learning component, but the students have a lot of fun with that and they're seeing real world professional application with these programs.
Well, exactly. And I think even for me, thinking about engineering and science and math, I don't necessarily think about an amusement park.
Right.
I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about the fact that, that maybe you're building a road or a bridge or, some other piece of equipment, but not an amusement park. And what a cool way to connect, the engineering component to the ride component of something that they've probably already experienced. And now they can see how it works behind the scenes. That's fantastic. What a cool experience, and that hands-on experience for a student, especially if you've got a student who comes from an area where they don't have access to amusement parks or theme parks or that type of work. This could be an incredibly eye-opening experience for these students and maybe even send them on a different trajectory career-wise as they move through their life. It's really impressive. I did not know about that ride one with the Transformers ride, and I love the Transformers ride.
Yeah.
So now I'm very excited to tell my groups about it because what a cool experience that they can. Are there size limits to those groups, Michelle?
So we ask for a minimum of 20 students. And again, we can go up from there. So ideally, if you're bringing us a group of 300, we've got a space that can accommodate that on a specific day and a specific time. So don't be afraid for your larger groups, but we do ask for a minimum of 20 students for the education programs. And I think too, we've got a really full portfolio of education programs, not just the two STEAM programs I mentioned, but we've got business learning series. We have a marketing program that we do in conjunction with DECA. We have an amazing new program that's actually called Velocicoaster, breaking down the DNA. And that is in partnership with our Universal Creative team that helped to put together this amazing roller coaster inside Islands of Adventure. And the students are going to see what does it take to build and create something like that? And how many different teams and jobs are involved in that? So it is a little bit of a hybrid of a ride design type engineering type creative program where the students are actually going to be working again in small teams, creating their own attraction for Universal. And they get to learn all the different careers that are involved and how important brainstorming, collaboration, working together as a team is in doing something like this. And really, the concept and ideation of a world class theme park attraction all the way through grand opening. So it's a really awesome program. I think that touches on different career interests. It doesn't have to be just science, technology, or
Yep.
engineering. It can tie into public relations. How do you
Mhm.
launch the opening of an attraction? We go into all of those bits and pieces and the cohesiveness of doing that together. And I think it's very eye opening for the students again as they're looking to potentially explore what career opportunities there are in a theme park. We'll go through a running list of jobs and professional needs for this. And one that always catches me is scuba welder. I didn't know what a scuba welder was. Well, because of where this roller coaster is situated, part of it sits over our lagoon. We have to have welders that are scuba certified to go down into the lagoon to weld the pylons of that attraction. So,
Yeah,
those are
I'm
just as
I never would have thought of
yeah,
that either. That's cool.
yeah. Those roles are just as important and crucial as, the ride operators who are designing and creating the attraction and how it's going to maneuver through the landscape. So it's a really great program. I can't say enough about it. It's really fun too to see the creative ideas the students have and how they bring their concepts to life in front of their peers.
I'm definitely stuck on scuba welder. I am going to now have to research this whole concept now, I think, for myself. But that's really fascinating. And what a great broad way of introducing all of these concepts to a whole bunch of students. I think that it's easy to get stuck on, Harry Potter or a ride or a specific piece to, to an amusement park, but feeling and learning about all these enriching experiences students can have as a part of a trip to Orlando. I think it's really important for our directors to know that, you can justify your trip because there's legitimate academic work happening on this, on your campus. It's not like you have to kind of fuzzy around it. You can actually say, I've got some legitimate curriculum support. So if you're the band director and you're bringing your band, you can also reach out to your other teachers in your building and say, yeah, but we also have these opportunities to learn about physics, to learn about different business jobs that people can have. We can learn about different marketing things and skills that come with launching something. And whether you're launching a coaster at a park or you're launching a product for another company, some of those same themes and lessons can be learned there. And how great that you can achieve all of that with one trip. It doesn't just have to be band
Yes.
and it just doesn't have to be science. You can get it all in the same trip, and how fortunate for those students to be able to experience that. What do you think makes for what's a successful trip for a director? Like, in terms of what do you look for when you see a director or a teacher coming in and they are prepared? What does that look like typically?
Sure. So obviously, we love when directors are working with travel planners and travel providers that are able to help guide through those logistical pieces because it makes it for a much smoother experience. And I think from our perspective, when we get a phone call of someone who has maybe never done a trip or has no experience in putting something like this together, 9 times out of 10, we're going to recommend that they seek out the professional guidance from a travel planner because that will help them, number one. But what I think we touched on a little bit earlier when we were talking about the workshop, we like to be extremely flexible. We want to be the theme park or the destination of choice. Number one, we want you to choose Orlando when you're choosing where you're going to travel with your students, whether that's performance or education.
Yeah.
And once you've made that decision to travel to Orlando, we want to be the partner and the destination of choice at Universal Orlando Resort. So you'll find a very open conversation with us. We like to give you our product and our portfolio and see what's going to best fit your needs. So if you've done a similar experience or you've done something before, we're going to ask you what you liked about it. We're going to ask you some kind of clarifying questions to make sure that we're providing you with the opportunity that's going to be the best fit for your students. We're not just going to tell you what you have to do. We're going to find out what you want to do. And I think you'll find that with anybody on our team that you talk to at Universal, whether it's myself on the youth programs and ticket side or at our resort hotels, we want your students to have an incredible experience when they come here. So ideally, we want you to be choosing Universal for the entirety of your Orlando trip. And now we have the content to justify that. We'd love for you to stay at our on site hotels. With that, you get early park admission into not just Epic Universe, but into Volcano Bay, our water theme park, as well as, dependent on the day and the time of year, into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, whether that be at Islands of Adventure or Universal Studios. So there's some nice advantages of staying at one of our on-site properties. Again, the proximity, the location, we have resort transportation that makes it super easy and convenient for you to get around. It's a very safe and secure destination to bring your students. We want everyone to realize that there is a reason for our metal detection and our screening for every guest that comes onto property. That's important. You can feel safe and secure bringing your students here.
Absolutely. And when
And
you're talking
ideally,
to your
when you're
parents, yeah.
here, right.
Uh-huh.
And ideally, when you're here, you can let those students go and have some fun, but you're also going to have fun with them. Again, the rides, the shows, the attractions, everything is designed for that teen, tween, early adult market to have fun together. So, middle school, high school student groups, it's going to be the place to be. And the educational components or the performance programs are the icing on the cake, really to help justify that trip. And it's going to be more than just a justification. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to learn something and you're going to want to come back and do it again with future students because of how much you've gained out of that experience.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's really good for teachers who, if they come from a program where they travel every 2 to 3 years, or they historically go to Orlando every 2 to 3 years or 4 years, and there's enough that changes too, I think, to keep directors
Right.
engaged. So it's not, it's not just the same cookie cutter thing every time. Like you said, they can pick a different clip to do during their workshop. They could talk about a different ride. They can, do different things, and that keeps it fresh for the director, keeps it engaging for the students. The parents feel satisfied that their financial investment is going towards a worthwhile trip, and the administrators are feeling the academic certain value that the students are coming or benefiting from while they're there. I think that in touching on that, the hotel aspect to the on property concept of the resorts that Universal has to offer, Universal has very much figured out how best to move groups in and out of hotels, where a lot of people don't think about the fact that you take 100 kids to an amusement park. Well, then you also have to have a place for them to sleep and eat, and
Right.
the things outside of that. And the ease with which you can do that at Universal is fantastic. The on property resorts really take very painstaking care to make sure that a group has what they need, because sometimes a group will get there and they just need to drop their luggage and then head to the park for the day. Where does that luggage go? Universal has the answer. They've got storage for that. They can handle that. You let them know that that's what you need, they'll take care of you. Do you need a box breakfast because maybe you have to leave really early on your departure day to get back to the airport for a really early flight? They'll make sure you get facilitated with food. They'll make sure that that they will help you where they can in order to make sure that you get what you need, and that your students are always well cared for and safe. Private security at the hotels every night is a huge factor too, so that you can feel confident that your chaperones can get a good night's sleep, and that everybody is in a safe, protected, watched environment, so you don't feel that extra nervous energy there. You can feel sleep a lot more soundly in that process. So, well, Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.